Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. It's another day's journey, and I am so glad about it and so grateful for your joining me tonight. This is another opportunity for us to have a conversation with a candidate, and I'm grateful for the way in which you have been showing up and sharing this and sharing it with others so that you can become more informed about this year's November election, and that you can go to the polls and help represent America and call America into being what it says it is on paper. Remember, this is a nonpartisan. I have sent an invitation to all would-be candidates. I just wanted to take this time leading up to the election to hear from whoever would agree to come on, Republican or Democrat, and ask them what's happening. Last week, we were grateful for the Attorney General, Josh Shapiro, to come on. And this week, I am excited for a young brother from Pittsburgh, Brother Austin Davis, who is here, who is running for Lieutenant Governor. And so, Austin, we're going to ask you to come online and share with us. I'm grateful. Remember what we're going to do, saints, as we have this conversation. I'm going to close out in prayer in about a half hour. But until that time, I want you to meet this young man and want you to hear what his thoughts are about the position, and want you to take into consideration this. And keep this process in prayer. Vote your conviction, but don't go to the polls ignorantly. Go to the polls informed. So, Brother Austin, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Pastor Waller. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back with you and the Enon family. And thank you for welcoming me into the sanctuary a couple months ago. My wife and I had a phenomenal time worshiping you and all of your members. It's great to be back.
Yes, sir. And you brought up your wife. I'm so grateful. You know, she was a baby in my first church. Her father, Robert Holmes, was an associate minister at the First Baptist Church of Donora. You know, that really makes me feel old to know that one of those babies is now getting ready to be in office or seeking office in Pennsylvania. So I'm grateful for you. But tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're running for lieutenant governor. And then included in that, what does the lieutenant governor do?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that question. I'm State Representative Austin Davis, and I've had the privilege of representing Pennsylvania's 35th legislative district for the last 5 years. And that is a district primarily made up of working class folks in the Mon Valley region of Allegheny County, right outside the city of Pittsburgh. I also serve as the delegation chairman for the Allegheny County House Democratic Delegation of State Legislators, the second largest delegation of legislators here in our Commonwealth. I decided to run for lieutenant governor for a few reasons. One, we're living in what is a very critical time, and we are at an inflection point here in Pennsylvania. And we have to decide whether we're going to move forward and build a Pennsylvania that works for everyone, or whether we're going to go down the path of extremism, of division, of dangerous politics. And so I decided to get off the sidelines and jump into this race for two primary reasons. One, to be a strong governing partner for Josh Shapiro, to help him take on those big fights that we know lie ahead, to deliver for Pennsylvania's families, to be a strong sounding board and partner for him in terms of the day-to-day governance of our Commonwealth. And the second reason is to be a champion for working class families. That's something that's deeply important and personal to me. I'm the proud son of a union bus driver and a hairdresser. My dad's a Pittsburgh Regional Transit bus operator, and my parents, just like many of the viewers who are watching this today, worked extremely hard to ensure that my sister and I had every opportunity to succeed. And right now, it's just too difficult for a lot of working class families to get ahead. They're struggling with the rising costs of groceries, of inflation, of worrying about how they're going to access affordable health care, how they're going to put their kids through college and make sure, or just make sure their kids get a quality education in our public school system here in Pennsylvania. And so I want to be a champion for each and every one of those folks to help make their lives a little bit better. I went to Harrisburg 5 years ago as a state legislator to fight for working class families in my community here in the Mon Valley. And I'm going back and seeking a bigger role to fight for working class families all across this Commonwealth. You had a great question about what exactly does the lieutenant governor do? And a lot of folks don't realize this. The lieutenant governor is the second in command in the Pennsylvania state government structure. The official duties of the lieutenant governor is to chair the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons. So if you know anybody or anyone has ever sought a pardon or a commutation from the Board of Pardons, the lieutenant governor chairs that board. It's not lost on me that if I'm lucky enough to serve as lieutenant governor, I'll be the first person of color, first Black person to ever chair that board. I think that's significant because, quite frankly, the majority of people that come before that board look like you and I, Pastor. And so I think to have somebody who has that life experience sitting in that seat will make a difference. In addition, the lieutenant governor chairs the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Council to make it relatable for everybody. If you think back to COVID, when we were struggling to distribute vaccines, and we had to push them into communities where there wasn't necessarily easily access to vaccines or medical treatment, that all ran through the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, which the lieutenant governor oversees. So had I been lieutenant governor at the time, I would have had a huge role in coordinating those vaccines being rolled out. But literally any emergency that happens in the Commonwealth, the lieutenant governor chairs that emergency council and responds. And the third role, the lieutenant governor heads up the governor's local government advisory commission to work with local governments all across the Commonwealth to respond to any challenges that they might have as it relates to state government. But then outside of that, the lieutenant governor is assigned duties from the governor, different special projects to work on, different initiatives. It has changed from lieutenant governor to lieutenant governor. But Josh Shapiro and I have been very clear that we want to govern Pennsylvania as a team. And I think folks should look no further than how we've run our campaigns. When most folks don't know this, lieutenant governor is selected separately in the primary process, is nominated by the voters, and then we are paired together in the fall. When I announced my campaign back in January, Josh Shapiro was standing right next to me to say loud and clearly that he wanted me to be his governing partner, and he wanted somebody that could help him govern the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So I think people will see our relationship as governor and lieutenant governor will be very different than those of the past, a much closer, tighter relationship. And just look at the way we've been running our campaign. We've been hand in glove since the very beginning.
Thank you for that. You know, in the church, we have this language that says, lay hands on no man quickly. And that has to do with not ordaining someone too young, not ordaining someone too quickly. How do you respond to the critique that you're young? I mean, what about your background makes you think that you're ready for this position?
So, well, thank you for that question. I would say that youth does not equal inexperience. And if you look at my record, I spent 6 years as a senior advisor in Allegheny County government, helping to run and manage Pennsylvania's second largest county, a budget of about $1 billion with about a 2,500 person workforce. I then left that position to run for the Pennsylvania House of Representatives and have served on some of the most important committees in Harrisburg that there are, like the House Appropriations Committee, where I currently sit as a member that has oversight over every budgetary matter that comes before the General Assembly. I serve as the vice chairman of the House Insurance Committee and help work to expand healthcare access to 700,000 uninsured or underinsured Pennsylvanians. And I lead a delegation of about 16 legislators, the second largest delegation in our Commonwealth. That's something that's really meaningful to me because my colleagues viewed me as a leader among leaders and chose to elect me to lead our delegation and to negotiate with our leadership as well as the governor's office on priorities that are important to our region. So while I am young, I am not inexperienced. And I've had a tremendous amount of experience both at the local level and at the state level that can ultimately benefit our administration and help deliver real results for working class families here in Pennsylvania.
Thank you for that. You talked about the Mon Valley, and my first church was First Baptist Church of Denora, which is in the Mon Valley. And so that was my entrance into Pennsylvania. So back in 1990, I was under the impression, as so many people, that Philadelphia got all the love in Pennsylvania and that we had to fight hard to get ours in Denora. And now I've been in Philadelphia for 28 years, and I recognize that there is a skewed understanding of Philadelphia. And how can we be comfortable in knowing that you from the Western portion, I mean, yes, you are Black, but do you understand the unique needs of Philadelphia in general and Black people in Philly that we're dealing with? And how would you convince me that you understand that?
Well, look, I think the issues that we face in Western Pennsylvania are very similar to the issues that folks face in Philadelphia. And I think a lot of times we divide ourselves into these regions and think that the problems in one place are different from the problems in another. As I've traveled this Commonwealth to large Black communities in Philadelphia, but also Black communities in places like Chester, Pottstown, Aliquippa, and Monessen, the issues are the same. They are all struggling to deal with the issue of gun violence. Everyone wants to live in a safe community. That's an area of work that I'm particularly proud of as both my time as a legislator to help increase the gun violence reduction initiative grant to when I was in county government to help set up the first violence prevention division in the Allegheny County Health Department to look at gun violence from a public health perspective. People in Black communities all across Pennsylvania want to make sure their communities are safe. That's an issue that unites us. People in Black communities all across Pennsylvania want to make sure their children have access to a quality education, regardless of their zip code. That is an issue that unites us. And Black families all across Pennsylvania want to ensure that they have economic mobility and the ability to live a middle-class lifestyle here in Pennsylvania. That's something that unites us. I have been honored to be welcomed into communities all across this Commonwealth in Philadelphia and abroad. But I think the issues that Philadelphians are facing are very similar to the issues that other communities are facing all across this Commonwealth. And it's going to take leaders who lead with compassion and empathy, and leaders who, quite frankly, listen to understand and not just to respond, to help deal with some of our biggest challenges here in Pennsylvania. And I know I'm up to the task.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. How do the recent numbers around millennials and Gen Xers and Gen Zers, there's just more of them than us. If they don't vote, we're at a handicap. How do you think you can or will inspire and get voter turnout from this younger population?
Well, thanks for that question. I have been spending a lot of time. We have rolled out a number of Shapiro Davis chapters in college campuses and high schools all across this Commonwealth. And I've been spending a lot of time going and meeting with those young people and hearing their concerns. And I have told them that this election is not just going to determine the leadership of this Commonwealth for the next 4 years. It's going to have ramifications for the next 40 years. The next governor and lieutenant governor are going to make decisions that will affect this Commonwealth for literally generations. And I've been telling young people that it may be Josh and I's name that's on the ballot, but it's their future that's on the line. And so they need to get off the sidelines, get engaged in this process, and fight for the Pennsylvania that they want to see and live in. A Pennsylvania that's inclusive of everyone, a Pennsylvania where people have the opportunity to to get a family sustaining job and live the American dream, a Pennsylvania that's not unaffordable to go to college or to get educated in. We have to make sure that not only do we keep the young people we have to make sure that we're attracting young people from other places to come to Pennsylvania to start a life here. And it's going to take leadership that understands that. And I know Josh Shapiro and I are up to the task. I will, if I'm elected lieutenant governor, I won't just be Pennsylvania's first Black lieutenant governor. I'll be Pennsylvania's youngest lieutenant governor and the first millennial elected statewide here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And so, to be fair to all of the questions that are coming, how do you respond to, well, Josh just needs a little help with the Black community, so he grabbed you early, and you are to just pull him some Black people in? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I would say, look, I would say, one, you should look at Josh's record and the work that he's done as Attorney General. I can tell you, Josh and I worked hand in hand together to reform our policing system here in Pennsylvania and create the first officer misconduct database in the wake of the George Floyd killing. I would say Josh has always stood up for Black and brown communities, particularly for folks in Philadelphia. Josh brought a lawsuit on redlining to hold banks accountable who were discriminating against African Americans who were trying to buy homes. I would say, if you look at the race we are running as a partnership, as a team. I'm not just merely there to help pull in some votes. I'm there to be a voice for marginalized folks all across this Commonwealth, and particularly Black and brown communities. And that's a responsibility that I take very seriously. Being Pennsylvania's first Black lieutenant governor is nice, but it doesn't mean anything unless there's a second, and unless we address some of these inequities that Black and brown communities are facing all across this Commonwealth.
Excellent, excellent. So does the lieutenant governor, if something, God forbid, were to happen to Josh, is this position, then does the lieutenant governor then become the governor? Are you a heart's beat away from being the governor?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. We're obviously not planning for something like that, but if God forbid something were to happen to Josh, I would become Pennsylvania's governor.
Got you. Okay. Well, Austin, we appreciate you taking this time out. And as always, I am extending this opportunity, and I'm extending this to any of the would-be office holders. This is not meant to be misunderstood as an endorsement by Pastor Waller on Austin Davis. This is Pastor Waller of Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church saying to everybody running, come on, let's have a conversation each Saturday evening as we get ready for one of the most important votes in Pennsylvania in our lifetime. Is there anything that I haven't addressed with you that you want us to know about you? As we get ready to make our decision? Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think we need to know?
I know this is a big campaign in a big state, but I want your viewers to know I got involved in public service because I wanted to make a difference in my community. When somebody got shot on my block, I decided to roll up my sleeves and get involved and start a violence reduction organization in my community to help reduce gun violence in the city of McKeesport, where I live. I ran for the state house because I believe representation matters, and I believe those folks who are closest to the pain should be closest to the power. And the decisions that government leaders make every day have an enormous impact on Black and brown communities. So I want folks and your viewers and your members to really consider their power in this process, and to go out and allow their voices to be heard for a Pennsylvania that they want to live in, that responds to their needs and solves their problems. I can tell you, Josh Shapiro and I will get up every single day and work our butts off to make sure we're delivering real results for working class families here in Pennsylvania. And so you shouldn't expect anything less. And we are trying to earn and work for every single vote. I've been crisscrossing Philadelphia and this Commonwealth. I'm going to continue to do that as we enter the closing weeks of this campaign and make our case. But I would really encourage folks to look at the candidates who have consistently shown up and look at our records who have records of delivering for Black and brown communities. That's going to be critically important. I'm not just here to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm asking you to look at what I have done. And that's a best indicator of the type of leader I'm going to be as Pennsylvania's next lieutenant governor.
Thank you for that. I do want to ask one more question, and I want to apologize to you ahead of time because I should have asked Josh this question, but I am going to put it at your feet. And that is, often when we're talking about Black voters and we're talking, and since George Floyd, in the political conversation, we often frame Black issues around policing and prisons and justice, and certainly that's a piece. But there are also, kitchen table concerns that Black people have about money. There's a Black middle class. There is, how does the Democratic Party demonstrate that it has an understanding of the financial concerns of Black people? Let me give as an example. In many cases in this country, during the presidency of Donald Trump, and I'm not endorsing him at all, a lot of 403Bs and 401Ks and stock market stuff grew. That's just real. It grew. And in these first 2 years with Joe Biden, a lot of the gains in those 403Bs and 401Ks has been lost. Is how does the Democratic Party speak to that, and how do you speak to that in our in our state?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say encourage folks to take a look at the economic plan that Josh and I have rolled out to put more to help a gas tax rebate to help put money back in folks' pockets who are dealing with rising costs of gas prices, which have seemingly leveled off and gone down. Our plan to eliminate the cell phone tax here in Pennsylvania, to put more money back in the pockets of folks, and our plan to expand the property tax rent rebate program that so many of our seniors take advantage of, to widen the eligibility, to increase the amount of money coming back into pockets. But I'd also encourage folks to look at our plan around procurement and how we're going to work to create more opportunities for Black-owned businesses here in Pennsylvania, to help reform our state procurement process, to create a Main Streets Matter program that provides no and low interest loans to Black business owners and developers, to create a Black business center within the Department of Community and Economic Development to provide capital and technical support. Here, I would say take a look at what we're talking about to improve the economy, particularly for Black and brown folks here in Pennsylvania. But you're 100% right. The Black community is not a monolith. There are many issues that face Black and brown people around affordable health care, around student loan debt, around economic mobility. And we're the only campaign that has put out serious policy prescriptions to deal with these very serious issues. So I would encourage folks, if they have a few minutes, to go to joshshapiro.org and take a look at the policy section and the things that we're proposing. But you're 100% right. The Black community is not a monolith. It's not just policing. It's not just justice issues. We are concerned about our children's education. We're concerned about healthcare costs, about affordability. We want to make sure Black people have a strong pathway to the middle class and the upper middle class here in Pennsylvania. We're going to work every day to make sure that happens.
Yeah. Thank you for that. This last thing, one of the things that Josh talked about is that he will, there are jobs that and appointments that a governor will make. When it is time for him to make those appointments, how far in the room are you? Will you be in the room for the numbers? As I understand it, there are hundreds of appointments that can be made, and there are hundreds of jobs available that the governor will appoint. And what is the lieutenant governor's role in that process?
Yeah, so I will be sitting directly next to Josh when those decisions are made. And I think this goes back to my earlier point about being a governing partner for Josh and the way we've run this campaign and the fact that we have been together since the very beginning. I would not have run for lieutenant governor if I wasn't going to have a seat at that table. And so we are going to be there working directly with the governor on making those appointments, making sure that a Shapiro Davis administration is as diverse as this Commonwealth and is representative of the folks that we seek to serve.
Yeah. Well, listen, Austin, thank you so much for spending our time. We're coming to the bottom of the hour. Saints, this is our normal time for gathering for prayer. And I wanted to take our time leading up to this next election to raise consciousness. What I'm asking you to do is share this. Let people know it's on. You're watching this on Facebook, on YouTube, on our app. And I want to encourage everyone out there to share this with a friend if they want to know who Austin Davis is or what the lieutenant governor does. I encourage you to do that. Right now, John Fetterman is the lieutenant governor who now is running for the Senate seat. And the implications of that, even for Austin, are huge. But what we cannot afford is anyone to stay home. I am not telling you who to vote for. I'm telling you that you need to vote because voter turnout exit polls inform whoever's in office and decide where their will be. And where there is no threat, there is no, they don't necessarily pay attention. And so quite frankly, you need to show up. It is at the end of the day, all politics are local. And so I thank you, Austin. We admire you and bless God for you. We're praying for you and your family, as well as others that are running. And for those of you, I look forward to seeing you in church on tomorrow. Please don't forget, we are back at West in the morning. The air, we don't even need it, but the air conditioner is working. And we will be at West at 6:45 and then, of course, at 10 o'clock. And then for those of you who feel like hanging out, we're going over to Ed Smith in the afternoon for his 4th pastoral anniversary and his birthday. And so we look forward to that. I do look forward to Bible study this coming Tuesday, y'all. We are back. We are back in Bible study, and I'll begin. That is online. The Village has spoken. More of you come to this than you do to the building. So I'm going to honor that. And so join me here 7 o'clock Tuesday evening as we dig back into the Word of God. We're going to have a word of prayer now and close out. And I look forward to seeing you all real soon. Austin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
God, I bless you and thank you for today. And I thank you for the way in which you show yourself strong. We thank you for this format and forum that allows us to hear from those who would serve us in a political way. Lord, you know what your desire is, and we are trying to match up with what you are calling into being. Lord, we thank you for our country. We thank you for each candidate, and we thank you for what is the attempt at democracy. And we are pressing towards the more better union. And so now, God, we ask that you bless those who are involved in the process, help those who watch this to learn and to grow. And then, God, I pray for every man or woman that will stand tomorrow to declare your gospel. And I pray your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Now, God, as we get ready to leave this place, but never from your saving grace, Lord, give us traveling grace until we meet again. It is through Christ, and for his sake, we do pray. Let us all say, amen, amen, and amen. Listen, love y'all much. I'll see you in the morning. God bless you and God keep you is my prayer.